Okay, so we finally are now to a point of where we're going to talk about doing formatting on our slides. And I'm talking about changing the way our text looks on the slide. Okay, we can change font, we can change style. There's a ton of things we can do, and I just want to kind of cover some of those with you. I know that I think we're to a point in the history of maybe technology that I think a lot of you know what bold does and what italic does and things like that. But we're going to cover those things, and we're going to go beyond that as well. Okay, just so you know all the tools that you have available. One of the things, one of the reasons why formatting is important is because if you've got a sloppy looking, almost hidden type presentation that you're presenting, people are going to kind of drift off. They're going to get bored. You want to kind of make it kind of catchy, kind of lively, something where when they look at it, it looks important. All right, it looks fun. It looks whatever. All right, and that's what we want to have here. Now, currently, the theme that we've got here is more or less like this little sunshine deal there, and you can see there that the font that we're using for the titles is, when you look at it here, it says on here it's the, which really doesn't look too bad at all because we've got that set up with italic on there. So it has like kind of a light, kind of airy, kind of beachy look to it, you know. So pretty cool on that. So, but that's just the basics of it. If we go a little bit further, maybe go to this next slide, you can click on it here. You can see we got the Times New Roman as well used here, but we're not using the italic in there. So anyway, so how do you go about changing some of these things? Well, let's just kind of work from what we have up here. Most of your formatting is found in the Home tab, and I really should say character type formatting. And then of course we have the design and transitions and so forth that have also their own as well. But primarily, just as far as the text goes, this is pretty much where you want to go, is in that Home tab there. All right, so let's take a look at the title that we. Let's go back to the first one here. So let's look at this title here. As I said, it's in Times New Roman, it's italic and so forth. Now, so you can actually see what the italic is doing. Now, if I take that, if I select it either that way, or if I just select onto the placeholder box, the text box here, right, I can make the changes as well. Now, so look at this. If I take the italic off, you get that. Put it back on there again, looks pretty good. Now, if I want to stand out a little bit more, maybe I can go with bold, okay? That's not too bad, all right? Now, aside from all that, we also have here the shadow. Now, take a look at what you see there. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see this better here, okay? So look at that. Now, if I go back and I hit the shadow, you can kind of see how that kind of makes it stand out. So it kind of makes it almost raised off of the slide there. Now, if I take the bold off, then you get a little bit better look at it. So let me just turn off the shadow, right? There's without, there it is with it. So actually the shadowing almost gives it the bold look, all right? So that's pretty neat. Now, of course, you've got underline. I don't want underline, so we'll turn that back off again, all right? Now, another thing that we have here is this little AV button. Now, this is what they call the character spacing. This allows you to add space to this between the characters. Now, the characters have a little bit of space, but we might want to give them a little bit more. So if we click on that little drop-down arrow, you'll see that we've got the normal. Now, if I just hover over tight, you can see that. We'll do it very tight. Now, see how close that gets? Now there's tight, and there's nothing, basically, just normal. And then we have loose, so that's going to go the other direction, see? Now, if you need to get something in between there, what you can do is you can always go to more spacing. You get a little dialog box that'll pop up, all right? And then what you can do here is you can say, well, I want that spacing to be whatever number of points. So I can go here and I can say, well, let's say I'll bring this up to maybe 1 point, all right? Hit OK, there it is. That's just enough to make it kind of stand out. The idea here is not only would you maybe want to do that on a title, but also you might want to do it on certain maybe lines of text, things like that. The more you kind of stretch it out, or you give it that stretched look, it catches the eye more. All right, so when you look at that, and then you look at this next one here, there you go on that versus that there, which one do you think you like better? I mean, I don't know. One or the other is fine. All right, so that's pretty cool in that regard. So we got that for the spacing. Now here's another one here for you. I'm going to go into the next slide here, and we're going to work on the title again. Now, I would not recommend that you have different things for each of your titles, like each title that's on each of these slides having something different. I probably wouldn't go that direction. So I'm just going to show you the different tools we have that we can apply, and then you can kind of make up your mind which way or which route you want to go. But in this case now, what I want to do is show you this. If I go ahead and I'll just select everything again, just like that. You can either do that, or I can go here and kind of select it like that. Either way. Over here, we have this button here called Change Case. This is great. We have this in Microsoft Word as well. You can click onto here, and we can take that whole chunk of text there and say, hey, let's make that all uppercase. Now, what's kind of interesting is a lot of people think that if they make everything uppercase, it just makes it stand out, it's easier to read. It really isn't, but under certain circumstances, it's useful. But think about this. Imagine you took over for somebody. They had put this together originally, and you're noticing that every one of the titles is all in uppercase, and you're going, oh my God, I want to put that back to just being, title case, where it's just the first letter of each word that's capitalized. So you would, if you didn't know any better, you'd have to go in here and just basically retype it all, right? And if you had 20, 30, 50 slides, that's a little bit of work, right? Make typos, whatever. But here's what we can do. We can actually select this, and as you saw what we just did, I can go back here and say, okay, it's now uppercase. I want to make it sentence case. So I can go and click on the sentence case and do something like that. Nope, don't want that. Go back in there again, all right, until I want to capitalize each word. There we go. Takes it right back to where it should be. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's look at changing text color. Now, in certain lines that you have, you might want to make certain words kind of stand out. And normally, you're used to making that happen by just making it bold or something like that. So we could go maybe to where it says use words. Let's say you want to take those two words and you want to make them stand out. So if we did the bold, that's great. All right, so you do something like that, and that's okay. All right, but another way we can do, I'm just going to hit undo here. Another thought we can do is we can go here and change the color, right? So in this case, I can go into here and I can find a different color that I want to use, see? And I got a number of different choices. Now, what's happened is that the colors that they're giving us are coming from the particular theme that we're using. We're going to be talking about themes in the next video. But the theme, as I said towards the beginning of class, is pretty much the personality of your presentation, and it's what gives us the graphics and the font and everything that you see, or the color, and you name it. So what it does is it gives you kind of like colors that it feels would go and kind of go along with what we have already, okay? And that might be okay. You might find one that's, oh yeah, that's perfect, right? But if it isn't, you can either go down here and use the standard colors here, pick any of those, or you can actually go over here to the more colors, and you can find a color this way, all right? And you can say, well, I want it to be more of a kind of a red, so maybe I'll click onto here, all right? Hit OK, and there it is. Now, if you want to kind of change that up a little bit, you can go back in there again, all right? Go down to where it says more colors. There's the color that you picked, and then go into the custom and then vary the saturation, or even kind of change it this way, add a little bit more red to it, a little bit more green. So basically, the red and the blue gives us this color here. It's almost like 255 drops of red, 102 drops of blue in a bucket of paint, right, in those proportions. And that's what would give you that color there. It's like when you go to the paint store. All right, so I might say, well, I want to make it just a little bit darker, so I kind of pull that down, and there we go. And that one I say, yeah, that's perfect, all right? So I hit OK, and there it is, all right? Another way you can do it is you can take the text like this. I'll just double-click that word and go to the drop-down, and I can use the eyedropper. This is actually pretty cool. What it does is you click onto that, and anything that you point to on your current slide here, and it kind of turns off when you're out here. But anywhere on here, you might say, well, I'd like to use a color that kind of what I already have here, so maybe I'll go with this one right here. And you can see that little box that's to the upper right of that little eyedropper. That's the color that we're looking at using. So we click onto that, and it gives us that color. Now, what we can also do is click onto our drop-down arrow for the font color, go down here to More Colors. There's the color that we're currently using, and we can say, okay, we'll go to Custom, and we'll drag this down, make it a little bit darker, kind of like that maybe. Hit OK, and there is your new color. Doesn't look good at all, trust me. You definitely want to make that darker, if anything. So let me just go back there real quick, because that's going to bug me that it's there. So I'll just kind of drag this down a little bit more for the saturation. There we go. Go ahead and hit OK. Click away from it. There we go. Again, you know, it's up to you. Keep on going back in there, make it darker and darker, whatever. But the idea is to start out with that eyedropper and kind of work it that way. Now, another formatting tool we have is this one right here, which is basically the highlighter. It's kind of like what you use in school to mark up your books and kind of bring attention to certain phrases and so forth. So I'll go over here to the next slide here. Select this right there, include, or actually we'll do this, we'll do previous accomplishments, right? So we go here, and we got that selected. Click on the little drop down and pick the color that you want, right? So let's say you want to go with yellow, well, that'll really jump out, right? So you click onto that, and there you go. The other thing you can do, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, is to go and pick a color. So let's say we'll go with the turquoise here now. So you just pick a color, and now you'll see on the pointer here, there's like a little marker kind of hanging off there. So I can actually go to here and highlight that. Highlight maybe this over here. That kind of thing, right? A little bit more. There we go. All right, things like that. Now, when you want to turn it off, all you have to do is hit the button again, or just hit your escape key, and that'll turn it off. Put it back to where it was. If for some reason you want to get rid of that, what you can do is go back up to the marker and tell it no color, and then go back in there and re-highlight those areas, and it will remove the color for you. And then again, hit the button again, and that'll turn that off. Now, another tool you can also use is this little guy here called the Remove or Clear All Formatting. So what you can do is you can actually select an area, kind of like maybe just like this here, right? And go back up here and click on that button, and that will remove the formatting. So whatever you've done, all right? So I go over here, let's say I've made that bold, italic, shadowed, underlined, I've put a strike through it so far, and I say, you know what, I want to get rid of that. So all I have to do is select it, click onto that, and that returns it back to whatever the original was, and that was the original. That's pretty neat as well. All right, now this next tool seems to be pretty simple, but it's actually pretty deep, okay? And I'm going to go ahead here to slide number 4 here, and go to the end of this first bullet, hit the Enter key, hit my Tab key, and get myself in there. Now, what's happened is that this sub that we've got here for the bullet is at 28, all right? This here is at 32, okay? Let's say that you want to just say overall decrease the size of text. Now, normally this is what people use this for. They'll go ahead and they'll select something like this, all right? They'll select all that there. Go up in here and we got like the big A, what I usually call it like the big A, but this is your increase font size and your decrease font size. Now, if I hit the increase, obviously it gets bigger. Hit the decrease, it gets smaller. Now it's relying on what's in this here. So if I were to hit the decrease, it goes to 28, 24, 20, and then likewise going the other way. Now, so that's one thing. That's pretty easy to see there. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit undo and bring it back to what we had. Okay, so there we go. So now it's back there. Now, back to this. Now we have this being, as I said, 32, this being 28, and this back to being 32 as well. Now, I would like to reduce the overall size of this, but I want to reduce it proportionally. So in other words, I don't want to go and select this and say, okay, now I want to make it, one size smaller. Because if I do that, then whatever size I chose, it will apply to this one as well, which was already a little bit smaller, all right? So what we do instead is we select the area like this, all right? Now when you do that, it gives us this 32 plus. Why does it do that? Because this was I should say not 32 plus, let me go back there again. 28 plus, right? Why? Because the minimum size is 28, and there's bigger sizes, of course, 32. So if I select all of this, all right, and I get that, if I go into there and I change that to, let's say 24, then everything in that selection becomes 24. On the other hand, if I go in there and I hit the lower or the decreased font size, click onto that, I'm just doing a little bit of view here for you. You'll see how this maintains itself with the 20 plus. So now what does that mean? That means this is 20 and this is 24. See, so it proportionally dropped the size. That's what's really cool about that. So if you're in a situation where you've got a slide where you've got more text than what you can, deal with, and it's and you want to get it just to the right size that you'd like it to be, then go ahead and select all, especially when it's multi-leveled, select the whole thing, and then just use the big A or little a to increase or decrease the size depending, right? And just kind of go from there. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit undo a few times there and get it back. There we go. So that's how that one works. Now another formatting tool which I don't think is used a lot is this one right here called the strike through. I love this one because it allows me to do a couple different things. Either I can take somebody else's presentation, select an area, such as maybe like this, and say that I don't think that should be in the presentation. So when the author goes back and kind of looks through this, they'll see the strike through on that, which would be a suggestion that I think we should get rid of that. So maybe the person looks at it and says, nope, don't want it. I mean, I want to keep it. So I'll just go back in there and do that. Or I can tell that I want to, clear the formatting. Well, we have this one right here, so I can click on clear formatting, that'll get rid of it as well, all right? The other way I like to use it is to make it seem like, well, this is something that we're not going to do, all right? And so it might be something like, so you might have something like, maybe we'll say something like here, we'll say, we look to the past, and then right after that we'll type in future, something like that, right? So then what we can do is we can go back over here to past, and we would strike through, just like that, see? So it just kind of gives an emphasis like, hey, we definitely don't do the past, we look to the future, kind of thing, see? So just a thought. Now those are the tools that we have that are kind of like on the surface, all right, on our ribbon here. We also have the dialog box, and so if I click onto that, you can see we got some repeats in here, but we have the double strike through, which I think is pretty cool. We have something called small caps and something called all caps, and they also have something called equalize character height, all right? So let's take a look at some of these. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cancel out of there. So I want to first of all look at that double strike through. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a double strike through on future, just so you can actually see the difference between the two. So I'll go ahead and double click that, go back into my dialog box, go here to where it says double strike through. So click onto that, hit OK, and there's your double strike through. I think it's a little bit harder to read. I think this is the way to go if you're going to be doing strike through. But hey, again, totally up to you how you want to make that happen. Now, another thing that we have is the small caps, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to do this on the title so you can actually see how this works here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to do it that way. I mean, I could also do it like that too, I guess. But I can select the area, all right? Go back into the font, all right? The font dialog there. And on here, we've got the small caps. Now, I'm going to click onto that, hit OK. And I'm going to get that. And I'm going to turn off the italic as well. But look at this. What does it kind of look like? It looks like everything is in caps, but what the original ones that were actually capped, meaning the M and the S, are much larger, not much, a little bit bigger than the lowercase, which has also been converted into caps, but it's a smaller cap, and that's why they call this small caps. Very interesting, look there. And again, this one also kind of works pretty well with your spacing too. So if you go in there and make it a little bit tighter, you get something like that. It kind of jumps out at you. So just a thought with that. Now I got another one for you. This is actually pretty wild here. I'm going to go to this guy here, next one over here for opportunities. Now watch this. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Get rid of the italic, all right? Now watch this one. This is a feature, and it's called equalize character height. Now, you can probably kind of figure what that means. It means it's going to take every one of these characters and make them exactly the same height. It's going to have to do a little stretching, all right? So I go here and I click on equalize character height, hit OK, and I get something like that. That's pretty funky looking, It definitely makes it stand out. Now, if I took and did that to an entire, bullet point here, take that there, go back in there again, and do equalize character height, I get something like that. That maybe is a little too much. I think maybe, if anything, it might be good for a title, just to be kind of funky, like I was saying before, and working from there. I'm just going to go and hit undo and get rid of that. Now, this next one, it's a little odd, and I'm just going to kind of throw it out at you, and then you can kind of get an idea of what you think. Now, this feature would be used if you were creating your own theme, which we're going to be doing in another video or so. And again, what the theme was is the personality of your particular presentation. One of the things we can do is we can set it up so where if we made this cap, all caps, it will, if we later on said, okay, we don't want it to be caps anymore, the problem is when we're doing that theme, it's going to kind of change it up a little. Let me just kind of show you how it works, and you can kind of make up your minds if you want to use it or not. So I'm going to take this text here, all right, go back into my dialog, go over here and tell it that I want to go with all caps. All right, so I do that, hit OK, it's now all caps. All right, so then later on, I'll go in here and I will change this to dog, right? Now all I did was I just typed in small letter D-O-G, but it went uppercase. See, that's a little bit different than if I had gone into here, all right? Oh, I might find a different one here. Gone into this one here, okay? Made this all, and I just went in here, let's go do this here, made that all uppercase, all right? Now if I go back in on the and, now I just did that just by changing the case there, and I just type in A and D, all right? It's lowercase, all right? So making a caps using this or typing it in doesn't guarantee that if you go back and replace it with something else, some other text, that you're going to get that caps. But on the other hand, I'll go to here, and I say, okay, on this one here, I want to make that all, all caps, right? Hit OK. Now I go over here and I highlight that, and I'm just going to do this in all lowercase. I'm going to type in disaster, and it's all uppercase. So that's pretty slick. So just kind of keep that one in the back of your heads, because you'll probably use it once in a while, okay? But like I said, when we start working with the themes, I'll introduce that in there, and then you can see how that kind of benefits us. It makes sure that whatever you replace the text with will be uppercase, even if you don't type it in uppercase. How about that? All right? Okay. Now, another thing keep in mind here is your underlining. Now, I'm not a real big underline fan, but still, let's just say plan should include expected. Let's just say for whatever reason, we want to make that underline. So we select it, go back up here and make it underline. Great. Okay? Now, believe it or not, we have options for underlining, okay? And that is, I'm going to go back and reselect this, go back into my dialog box over here, and over here we have, get back up here. So we have on here the underline style. Now right now it's a single line. Click onto there, look at this, I've got double, I've got thick, I've got a dashed, I've got a thicker dash. It just goes on and on. I've got all kinds of things I can do for underlining. So I can actually pick, let's say this one here, hit OK, and that's my new underline. See a little jagged edge there. I'm going to hit undo, just undo that. So now another thing I can do though, and there's not only maybe just stick with the single underline, I can also change the color of the underline. So I'll go over here, pick maybe a nice bright red, right? And, given the fact that I really want this to stand out, maybe I'll change the line style to just being a thicker line. See, so do something like the heavy line. Hit OK, and there it is. That jumps out. Now that might be a little too much. So I think what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll reselect this area. All right, go back in there again, and change it from a heavy to just a standard, single underline there. Hit OK, and there we go. And you can see I made a little bit of mistake when I had done this because I over-selected. So what I can actually do to fix that is just to go and just kind of highlight just that spot right there. Turn off the underlining by just clicking that, and that turns it off. I can either do that, or I could remove the formatting like we did before using that button right there. Now, we've been kind of working with the formatting on the surface of the ribbon, underneath in the dungeon area of the dialog box, right? We can also, I'm going to just kind of jump up here a little bit here. We can also use our right click. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of select this area right there. And when I get done, well, let me just try that again here. Let me select this, just like right when I did that. Now, I didn't do any right clicking or anything. I just kind of selected it. I let go, and that thing popped up. And I'm sure if you've been using this program yourself, you've seen this pop up, and it's like, it's getting in my way. Well, but what's kind of interesting about it is it gives you the ability of doing some of the more, I guess, popular type formats. We got the bold and italic. We can change the sizes. We can indent. We can make things centered and so forth. So you got all that in there. So we can actually, let me go back in there again. To get it to pop up again, it's a little trick. So what I did instead, I just kind of did a right click, and there it pops up there. So I can go back in there and say, okay, I want to take that and make it, yellow, for the highlight, something like that. All right, now let's look at this again, and I'm going to go ahead and select this area right here. Now, right when I let go, bingo, that thing pops up. Now, another thing I can do instead is do a right click on it, all right? And there would be other things I can do, not necessarily with formatting, but other kind of features. So I guess with this one, the font, we can kind of change the font, right? Or right click it again. We can do bulleting, change the bullets, whatever we want to do on that one. So maybe on this one here, I actually removed the bullet. I mean to do that. So I'll do a right click on that, go to the bullets, here's my little arrow, and then I can pick a different kind of bullet. So if I just click it here, I'm kind of like toggling it off, right? Because you can see it's kind of grayed in there, it's on. So I can go back in here and I can say, okay, I want to go with this bullet here. Fine, there you go. All right, so pretty good stuff. Now, here's one more thing I want to show you, then I'll let you go. And again, I apologize for you having to sit there for a little over 30 minutes already covering this stuff, but I think all of this was important to see. All right. So in any event, though, let me go back to here, and let's say that on this area right here, the state specific, I did a whole bunch of things. I made it highlighted. I made it. I put a background. I put a text color in there. Oop. You're going to see that there. Text color. All right. I made it bold. I made it italic. I made it underlined. I made it shadowed. I even made it loose. Look at that, huh? It looks horrible. But let's just say that you did that to that one, and you realize that, oh, that might have been kind of cool to do maybe over here on something here, okay? So I'm being a little drastic with this, you know, just to kind of prove my point, to demonstrate it more. But we have a tool called this guy right here. It's called the Format Painter. Normally, when you select text and you hit, let's say, hit copy and paste it somewhere else, you're going to get the text over in that new position along with the font color, whatever formatting you had on there. What I want to be able to do is copy the formatting of this area to a different area, right? So it's really kind of cool. So to show you one way of doing it, what you do is you click anywhere in it. Now you don't have to select everything. Just anywhere in here has all that formatting just by clicking there, right? Now what you do then, once you've done that, you say, okay, that's what I want to copy, right? So now I'm going to click onto the Format Paintbrush right here, or Painter, right? Click onto that, and now you'll see that kind of hanging off their little paintbrush. Now I go over here and I can maybe select, I'll just select this area right here, and there it goes, and it automatically turns off. Now if you want to use this a lot, what you do is just click onto whatever one you want to go with, double click the paintbrush, and now it stays turned on. So now I can go and select this over here, I can select this over here, and so on and so forth. When I'm all done, and I can even go to another slide and go over here and choose this over here. So now when I'm done, all I have to do is just hit my escape key or click on the painter, and that will then turn it off for me. Now, how could you use the Format Painter to undo what you've got? Well, let's say that you decide that this is no good. You want to get rid of it altogether. Now, normally what you would do is you could maybe just kind of select the area like this, and then go back in there and tell it that you want to remove the formatting, you know, clear all formatting. Click on that, it goes right back to where it was. So that's one way, all right? But if we did it with the paintbrush, this might be a better thing, because maybe what you'd like to do is maybe have it look like this, all right? So what you can do is you can kind of select anywhere on there, hit the paintbrush, go back to wherever, and I can go ahead and I can reselect just that area like this, and now there we go. You see that? That's pretty neat. Now watch this one. I can actually remember a little bit earlier we had taken this and made this, and I'll show it here to you. We made this the all caps, right? So I can actually click anywhere on here. I'll click onto my Format Painter, or double click it, either way. But I'll go to another slide and I'll say, okay, I want to make this one here have that same kind of look. So I'm going to go and select this, or same kind of formatting. So I select that, let go, and now it's all uppercase. So now even if I go back in here and type in the word cat in lowercase C-A-T, it still goes uppercase because that formatting was applied to that. So pretty neat. Okay, so that should, I think, take care of this area of the program as far as this formatting, you know, your text. that you have in your data and so forth. So hopefully this will come in handy. I know, a lot of this stuff is very commonly used throughout, so I cannot see why you wouldn't be using some of this. So appreciate you watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.